Alright, welcome back. This is M-Dog. Yeah, we started to do an episode because the server came back up. And then the server went back down again. Ooh, look at that Bream order. Or that trophy is still around. So we got 36 silver worth of Bream and Rough before the server crashed again. Not crashed, but went back down. We got 36 hours, so we'll fish one night for Bream here. If we get lucky on that trophy, we get lucky on that trophy. But I didn't keep the episode, so that'll be lost footage because it was so short with the server coming back up and then going back down. But we'll try to get some more bream fishing in here, and we'll see what the rain does. If the bream are good and active like they were without the rain, or if the rain is going to slow them down. Let's see here. A little too far down. That looks about right. Alright, fake bream mix. I'll show you that in a second. Let me just get this line out here. We want to cast right about there. Oh man, we're going to be going hungry here, aren't we? Well, no, because we'll drink a lot of tea. And I think we still have a little bit of bread left. Alright, so we're using pearl barley times 2. And then we're using worms on the 3rd. With an even farther cast. And let's see if they are still doing their thing out there. Sounds pretty good. And this is our new rig. If you didn't see the last episode, we did purchase the Bottom Fishing Pro kit. So we've got the new Kama Fantasia feeder rod. As well as a Sputnik Element Pro 4000 reel. And we're using this ground bait with semolina base, maggots, and millet porridge, as well as sunflower oil. It's kind of frustrating. It's like all the stuff I talked about in the last episode that I recorded that got deleted because the server went back down. But hopefully it stays up this time. But so far it doesn't look like the rain is slowing them down. Seems like they're still pretty good. And as I talked about in the lost recordings, for the most part, worm seems to be doing okay as well. If you don't have pearl barley yet, if you're still working on leveling up bait harvesting, but you are here at Old Burg, you could catch some decent bream off worms. At least in the little bit of fishing I did here earlier, it seemed like worms were working maybe not quite as good as pearl barley, but certainly close. And I know somebody in chat earlier today ended up with a really nice one off worms, so it is possible. But right now the pearl barley just seems to be doing really well. Let's jerk this bream right in here. Over 1,200 experience there for that one. It's a tiny one. I mentioned this in the last episode, I think, when I purchased it. This is not necessarily, if this is your first time playing this game, you're kind of leveling up at a similar pace that I am, in this leveling series. I would not necessarily recommend you get what I get here in terms of this feeder kit. It works fine. I really like the rod, feeder rod, and the reel seems like it's a good reel, but I think there's some better options, and I will try to, when we finish bream fishing, before we do whatever else we're going to do here in this session, I'll try to have a little rod discussion. Someone had asked me on the last video to talk about level 16 rod comparisons, and he had a couple of rods specifically in mind that he wanted to know about. So I will do that. Yeah, the bream here are nice. Very good. We're already to 14 and a quarter in terms of our level, and that's just because we've been catching some decent bream and tench. Those are good XP and silverfish. So in the last video, someone asked about information about level 16 reels between Proton Pro 6000 and Saber 60 6000. And I like both of those reels a whole lot, but we can take a closer look in the store, as well as my reel recommendation for the level we're at now. And you can see pearl barley seems to be working a little bit better than worms. So I may go ahead and switch this third rod to pearl barley shortly. You can also catch rough and stuff like that on the worm. So the pearl barley is going to catch a higher percentage of bream. Let's give that another second, see if that fish gets on there before we switch it over. Oh, pop back up. It's very frustrating. Two days of bream. Sorry, 2 days of rain. Alright, so now we are pearl barley 3 across. We are staggered at 20, 22, and 24 meters here in this spot, casting into that 5-meter hole. We're casting from coordinates 23, 45. We've got fluorocarbon leaders straight across. The first rod has the biggest leader on it with a 10 kilo leader. The second and third rods still have the 5.4 kilo leader. Starting to get light out again. Six markers, 5 over a kilo. Pretty good. Remember, we missed the first probably third of the night. We got out here, it was already well into bream time a little bit. I'll tell you what, this first rod with the biggest leader has been going off. It's not always catching the biggest bream, but it has been going off. This is the one that's at 20 clip. I think if I do this again, I may put them all at 20 clip, to be honest. Let's see if that changes the dynamic a little bit. And we just can't catch a fish on the middle rod. Don't know why. But we have not been able to. There we go. There we go. That's a roach. Alright, now we're getting a bite on that middle rod finally. Now we're getting a bite on that middle rod. Supposedly. Has that line moved? Maybe not. There we go. That's a roach as well. All of a sudden the roach are showing up. You know, this may be a roach heavy spot, and it's just at night when the bream are biting, the roach aren't as present, but now that we're early in the morning, we're getting roach mixed in. Trying to keep my comfort up so that we don't start running down on energy and everything. It's not a good sign. It's not even 7 a.m. Are they already dropping off size-wise? We got the middle rod working now. Our first rod stopped. All right, if the next one's a small one again, we'll go ahead and move now. might be a marker. Ooh, that looks like a good bite. Nah, that's too small. It's harder to tell because this line is a lot stronger. But I think this will be at least a marker. Alright, that's not bad. We'll stay a little bit longer. It's a decent one. Coming in hot and fast again, all of a sudden. Fish on. Might be a little small. Well, when the ground bait runs out, unless we're getting really big ones all of a sudden again, we'll definitely move on. We've got other ground bait, but like I said, this ground bait we're using for the fake bream is semolina base. And we'll switch that to pearl barley once we get to 15%, just to make it more like the real bream mix. And then maggots and millet porridge, which I believe is in the real bream mix. And then sunflower oil. The actual bream mix is going to have anise oil, but you don't unlock that till I think 30%. We're using a different ground bait on this one. No, that is the same one. It just looked different. Try to get one more fish here. This is a much cooler day than normal here. Okay. This might be one of those 3-kilo ones. Biggest fish caught. Well, we got close to that trophy size, but didn't quite land it. But man, we caught some nice bream. Some really nice bream in this spot. Let's see if we can get a tench or two while we're looking at the reels over here. Such a good transition from bream to tench there. Okay. So somebody was asking about level 16. Level 16 reels. Their specific question was between the Proton Pro, which is right here, 9.5. This is a little bit newer reel. So you've got 9.5 drag, 223 spool, okay? Saber 60, 10 drag, 207 spool. Slightly less spool room, a little bit more strength. Let's look at the cost difference. This is old Burg cost. It won't cost this much somewhere else. 1,038 versus 1154. We've got 3.5 star versus 3 star. This is a personal preference thing. I can't tell you the right answer. I mean, you can't really say the right answer on any of this stuff. I started with Saber 60s because that's what was around when I first came up on my main account. I loved the Saber 60s. That was the first reel that I really felt attached to. Since then, I've gone back. I have tried the Proton Pro 6000 because it's been out for a while, and I really like that a lot as well. Personal preference. You get a little bit more spool here, not quite the power. We've got a 5:4:1 gear ratio versus a 4:8:1 gear ratio. I don't know enough to tell you the difference there. Which one has more torque or whatever, I don't know. But one thing I will tell you is don't sleep on the Supercast 6000. A little cheaper option. It's only 8.5 kilo, 4:8:1 gear ratio. It's a 3-star. Only requires level 15. If I have the silver, if it works out, this may be my first reel that's around this size. It's not quite as strong, but it's got a huge spool, so you're going to be able to fight fish. I'm really curious to try this. It's a newer reel. I think it's a direct competitor to the Saber and the Proton Pro. And I think those are the ones you want to consider, you know. Your next step is going to be up with the alphas and the Narga and even the Gold 80, which would have been the option back in the day. But for this level, yep, it's just personal preference between these two reels. They're both really good reels. I'd love to have one of each of them if I was at that level. But the sort of wild card to me is this Supercast, and I may try it. It looks like to me like the perfect bream or eyed reel. My opinion. I think because of the extra power, the Proton Pro or the Saber 60 might be a little more versatile if you're going to try to maybe like burbot or even trying to catch carp a little bit on it. Then yeah, you can get a little bit more power out of the Saber 60 or the Proton Pro. But I think that Supercast is an option. We have got some fish on here. Tell you what, let's put these back in. I mean, like, we cannot complain about the tench we're catching right now. Now, one of these episodes, we're going to make some ground bait. Some fake tench ground bait. Maybe we could do that now. We've got some good silver here. Some good silver in our net. I don't want to buy too much ground bait here because it is expensive, but we need to make a couple more stacks of fake bream stuff, and we could get a 3 kilo grass carp there if we get lucky. Look at this rough order. If you know of a good rough spot at Old Burg, 64 silver and all you need is 6 rough. But they got to be big rough, but that's doable. That's certainly doable. $92 silver, just like that. When Old Burg is going, it goes. It goes. Alright, so for ground bait. Alright, for tench, I'm going to say ground cracker base. We certainly want corn. Oh, we can't do worm yet. That's right. Got to be 40% for worm. We can do bloodworm. Or we can do maggots. I think maggots might be the safer choice. And then we'll just use sunflower oil. Alright, and then for bream, we're doing semolina. We're doing millet porridge. And maggots. Alright, so let's make the fake bream mix first. Semolina, millet porridge, and maggots. Alright, fake tench. We want crackers, corn, maggots, and sunflower oil. Okay, let's see if we have any tench on. Yeah, it got a little later in the day and they really slowed down. We went back to the well one too many times. The smart thing here would be to go ahead and get set up for bream. But no one's ever accused me of being smart. Let's just go check on the pond. I haven't shown the pond yet in these videos, and that's a travesty, right? It's a long walk, but it's an interesting place to fish. Now, if you get to level 12 and you want to fish Old Burg, you haven't upgraded your gear very much yet, this is the place to come and just put bread, worm, maggots, the normal stuff you've been fishing with at Mosquito in the water, and you're going to catch the same kind of fish you caught there. It's fairly safe. If you do get something bigger, you've got the pond to back you up so you don't get spooled, and you can try to wear the fish out. And it just tends to be a really hot happening place. We're not going to do that exactly, at least not, I don't think so. We'll see how other baits feel. We're going to start off with some variety. We'll probably put cheese in there. We'll probably put night crawlers in there, and then we'll see on the third one. Maybe pearl barley, maybe, I don't even know. Try oatmeal, try different stuff. We could try bread on one just to see if we can catch some big crucian and gibbles. But here we are. This is the spot. So let's go to about a 12 clip. And let's put our fake tench on. 6 cheese. Let's do it. And by the way, you can cast just right here in front of you. You can go longer clip out that way, this way. I mean, there's fish all over this area. Night crawlers. Let's keep a pretty generic bait on, or ground bait on there. I'm just going to put night crawlers right there for now. And then this is the tricky one. We definitely want to calm down and hook size a little bit. Let's start off with bread. It's a big hook, but let's just see what we catch. You probably want to go with like a 12 hook with bread here. Try to get some of the larger crucian and gibbles, but not like cut your bite rate down too much. Night crawlers might not do anything right now. I don't know. At night, you have a chance on the eel and Chinese sleepers, of course. But let's just see if any of these baits are working. Tench may not be active down here at all. I just don't know. And if they're not, cheese isn't going to do anything unless the carp are biting. Or at least not much. You catch common roach occasionally, I guess. Night crawlers came through. We're not excited about catching roach on our expensive night crawlers, but it's worth just experimenting and seeing. Alright, there goes the bread. Alright, looks like the cheese might catch something as well. Roach as well. Is this going to be a roachy area down here right now? Starting to look like it. Three fish in, 3 roach in the net. So if you do have upgraded gear like we do currently, this isn't necessarily the place you want to fish if the tench or the carp or eels and stuff isn't what you're able to catch. If you're just catching roach, crucians, gibbles, then there might be better ways to spend your time, but If you want a really active fishing spot, though, and just have fun filling up your net, catch 100 fish, put 12 or 14 hooks on, just throw worms, bread, maggots, that kind of stuff out there, and you should just get fish out of after fish in this spot. I still like the handle on the Lacerti S. The upgraded Lacerti, but Proton Pro looks pretty cool. Alright, there's a gibble. And again, you can just cast all over the place here. I guess the question is, do we want to stay down here at night and see if we can get a eel? Or do we want to go catch a few more bream before we wrap this episode up? I'm sure there'll be plenty of times for us to fish for bream. It might be worth just having a little fun for a couple hours in game and seeing, once it gets to be nighttime, if we can get lucky on an eel. Put night crawlers *2 and then worms on 1 maybe. Just try to keep a somewhat active bite rate out there. Oh, there is a tench. What do you know? That was more on that left side, wasn't it? Well, you know, some of the tench not biting was the time of day. There could be tench down here. We'll see as it gets a little later if the cheese starts popping off with tench. Okay. What is this, bread? It still could be a common carp, I guess. Although, remember the gibbles and crucians also do that, don't they? Is that a roach? Yeah. A nibbling roach. Good thing we have bread out or we wouldn't catch any fish right now. What time is it? 18:24. Try a little oatmeal. I forgot to buy bread again, didn't I? Okay, this is a cheese. Looks like that is a little tinge. Oatmeal did catch something. Well, it's a little bigger fish, isn't it? Maybe? Maybe not. Okay. So we're going to go fake tench with cheese until it gets a little later, and then we'll switch over to night crawlers for eel. See if there are any reasonably sized tench in this water. Yeah, it looks like there might be. So if the tench are okay here, there's certainly more you can do in this spot than the other tench spot, but I'm not saying that the tenches are as strong here as they are in the other one. Night crawlers are trying to get something, aren't they? That's the nightcrawler still, isn't it? I'm going to say Chinese sleeper. No? A little gibble on my night crawlers? Doesn't seem okay, does it? I think about 2200 we probably ought to switch to just night crawlers and worms. We'll see. Night crawlers again. Gibble? The best thing about that gibble is it gave me a point in bottom fishing. So that's going to be a size 6 hook night crawlers. I think we put like a Maybe a 10. Nah, I don't know if 10's right. Maybe the 8. What's my 8 on? Okay, yeah, maybe ooh, 10. Jeez, that's weird. Maybe a 8 with night crawlers. Just variety a little bit to see if we can't get lucky on an eel here. Okay. If nothing else, they are getting a little juicier. Alright, I think it's time. Not that we couldn't still catch a tench, but let's really see about this this eel possibility here. We're just going to put regular worms on that one. Let's see if anything happens. Not an eel. Was a pretty fat common roach, though. Is that the worm that has a fish on? Yeah. Ooh, that bite looks promising. Or not. It's a big roach, I'll give it that. Alright, this is on the worms. A bream here? You just never know what you're going to catch down here in the pond. Now, I have heard other people talk about occasionally catching bream here, but that's not something, at least in the past, that I've seen much of. Just a late night gibble for you. At least the worms are slowly but surely helping me finance the cost of the night crawlers we're spending here. The important thing is not to think about how much silver we'd be making if we were fishing for bream. That's the important part. If we're going to catch an eel, it'll be soon. They're fairly rare. I think they probably do better on fish pieces right now, but it's going to take a lot of leveling our harvesting baits to get fish pieces up. The other thing we can do that's fun with night crawlers is also try to catch burbot at Old Burg. But I don't know that burbot are super common here. A lot of times burbot are going to be more in some of the holes and just different spots like that. In the deeper places. Another decent gibble there. Okay. I'm not saying this is an eel, but how you know if it's an eel? Eel die in terms of their fatigue. They wear out faster than just about any other fish. So if it goes from strong to really weak all of a sudden, you know you're in business. So far that has not happened. If it's a good size eel, you feel like you got a truck on for a couple seconds. And then it chills out for you. This is weird though. I don't know what this is. It's not pulling very much. It's kind of just sitting there, barely pulling. Definitely not an eel. I guess it's just a decent sized tench. That was weird. Imagine what a trophy tench would feel like on the smaller rigs. Alright, what did we catch on night crawlers here? A bream. There are bream in this water right now. That is so weird. If anybody knows of any active eel spots, I'm so out of touch with old Burg, I'm not sure, but I could look around on a couple of Discord channels and stuff, see if anybody's talking about it, but Gibble? Alright. Past 4 a.m. we're probably not catching a eel. It's possible. You occasionally will see them all day, but it's so rare. It's rare at night. It's certainly rare during the day. But if an eel spot is hot, yeah, and especially if you have fish pieces, but even with night crawlers, if an eel spot is hot, you usually will get one or two during the night. Now, whether or not it'll be a marker, just depends on how good the spot is, but Well, let's see if we can get this fish on, and then we'll head back to town. We are now level 14 and a half. You know, as slow as this has been in terms of not seeing the eels, we have gotten all marker fish for the last 16 minutes. And some of them quite nice. I mean, a 1.8 tench. Gibbles, at least one of them's pretty close to a kilo, 900 grams. Over a kilo common roach. A decent bream. It's weird, but it's been pretty good here at night as far as the quality of the fish. That's another roach. Okay. No eel for you. Now, when you're down here, honestly, it's probably faster just to relog to get back to town, because this is a little bit of a haul, but I don't want to do that right now. So we'll hoof it. Somebody called it 10 kilo Xander. That is quite the weekly. So we're up to 128 silver. Maybe we'll make another, I don't know, 40 silver off of what we've got. All right. I'm sure that's 10 silver is probably more than they would have been worth otherwise. Somehow we did not catch a 3 kilo common carp. All right. So 10 plus 46, so 56 silver is not bad. We're up to 185 silver. All right. As always, thanks for watching. I'll do a little research for our next episode. We'll either do bream and tench again. We might even go back to mosquito just for fun. Haven't done cafe orders there in a couple episodes. But we'll see. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.